Okay, this is the funny angle where I have to move my remote controls over. So, welcome. This is Yoga for Justice. I'm Forrest, and our topic this week is Pride Month. You're going to want to strap because we're going to be stretching. And if there is any type of little breath work you want to do at the beginning of your yoga, you can be on your seat with me. You can come down to your back and just breathe deeply. You can take a child's pose, or if there's any kind of just, like I say, way that you like to stretch or wake up your body or begin to take those big, deep yogic breaths, then get yourself there, get yourself situated for a few little minutes before we get into our physical practice. So in June, it's Pride Month, meaning pride for ourselves or our friends or our neighbors who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer, or somewhere in between, or have a non-binary gender identity, or who are just, working in their own identity in a way that that is not stuck in a male-female binary or a heterosexual binary. So we have pride, and we think about this in this month because the history of people who have these identities and orientations have a long history of abuse, and where those identities intersect with other issues or other pieces of identity like race, then we see these systemic problems, the problems of constantly enforcing a racial and gender hierarchy compound onto people who are existing within intersections of those things. So Pride is in June in commemoration of a multi-day riot event in New York City called the Stonewall Riots in 1969. 1969 is the year after the Fair Housing Act expansion of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So we're just 5 years after getting the Civil Rights Act passed. There's been a sustained effort in the United States to say, look, racial discrimination happens. These are the reasons it's wrong in the workplace. These are the reasons it's wrong in all these different places. So this sort of, I think, awareness of that discrimination exists at all might have been a little higher. And so I see a lot of what's going on with the struggle to see equal rights and equal justice for LGBTQ people as a continuation of all of every civil rights. Every intersection has to move forward. So the Stonewall riots began with, stop me if it sounds familiar, a police raid on a gay bar. At the time, it was specifically illegal to be gay. So anyone who was gay was not out, whether they were a man, woman, regardless of what kind of expression they might desire. All of it was illegal. There were multiple days of these raids that included things like drag queens and anyone not conforming to a male gender or not conforming to what somebody else called a female gender were specifically singled out and made more of a criminal. And at some point in the heat of June, a Black trans woman named Marsha P. Johnson is credited with having thrown the first object back at the police. And these are people who are being discriminated against in their housing, in job opportunities, in just to be a family, to be able to marry your partner or claim your own children, these ways of being sort of denied by society. And so what I want to do for yoga practice this evening is to focus on the importance of that right to claim your own body, to have this body and its own experiences and authenticity and autonomy, and to claim that right to be whatever person and whatever kind of body you are. And as you connect to how important that is, which is important for, if you're interpreted as the gender that you identify as, that's great. If you are a heterosexual person in a pretty standard kind of relationship, that's great. Understand that there's a lot more that people are denied, from just their romantic or intimate interests at all, to being, continuing to be able to be a member of their own family or their own church if they claim their authentic identity. Any number of types of abuse, from more abuse by police to denial of healthcare, or being made fun of or ridiculed by anybody in any of these kinds of institutions. These types of systemic discrimination are all around us. Had a recent Supreme Court victory about discrimination based on orientation or gender expression or presentation being identified as unlawful discrimination that is sex-based in the Supreme Court. So that's a big step, but there's a long road. Anyway, we'll begin by coming down and trying to connect to some roots in our own body, in our own self, onto the back. So practicing yoga is one way of sort of claiming your body, because it doesn't matter what kind of body you have, you can work on a yoga practice. You draw the knees in and just let your low back kind of rock on the floor. And then understanding that there's, connection all through the body, from sort of the, belly button center core all the way through the heel of each leg. You're gonna hold on to one shin and inhale the opposite shin out. I'm holding my right shin, extending my left heel, exhaling it in. Then holding the left shin, inhaling, reaching my right heel out and exhaling in. I'm trying to have awareness from the very center of my belly, through the base of my spine, all the way through my leg and foot. Imagine that each foot is reaching for ground. It's hard to see. It's hard to find. Take one more heel extension to each side. Pausing here, letting the feet down to the floor, repeating into your own mind, I have my body. I am my body. I am myself. We'll bring the arms down to the floor. I have my body. I am my body, and I am myself. You're going to press your arms, hands, and feet in, lifting the hips for a bridge pose. Placing yourself on this ground below you. And finding that continuous connection from sort of under your belly button, through both sides of your hips and glutes, through both legs, through both knees, down both shins, and through both feet. I have my body. I am my body. I am myself. Exhaling, rolling down all the way to the floor, knocking the knees together, letting the feet go wide, and then let yourself have a little windshield wiper back and forth. And we're going to do some deep hamstring stretch. So you're probably going to want to strap. And this stretching is because in order to claim ourselves the most and be our most self and have that courage, we need an openness and we need that root to be strong. So the root of our body, this lower part of our body, the low back through the legs and feet, is strong in the people who get through these kinds of discrimination by families, by peers, by the world in so many ways. So you're going to wrap that strap around the ball of one of your feet. This is my right foot. Don't cramp up your toes, but just press that heel up toward the sky. Breathing. And you want this knee to be relaxed. Never locking the knee. We're just finding a nice long line through the back of the leg. And if you'd like to, take that left foot down. Extending that foot long and breathing. And keep pushing through the heel. And if you want to here and you want to deepen it, of course, you can always just walk your hands up the strap. And you're welcome here to really grip in, pull on your strap and lift your head and shoulders off the floor. If you don't have a strap, you can be holding on just somewhere on the leg here. The strap is nice to push all the way through the foot. And then if you like, you can relax back down. We're going to take the strap into the right hand, ground your left shoulder, and reach this right heel out, way out, far as it can stretch. Maybe resting your right elbow down. Pressing that left heel out long and your right heel out long. Breathing. Choke up a little bit. Both shoulders firmly down, that left hip down. I'm going to exhale all the way back out, switching that grip, taking the right arm over. And as you keep this foot flexed, don't go too far over. So keep this right hip at or close to the floor and find a really loud stretch. So an intense feeling either through the back of the leg or through the outside of the leg. Breathing is going to be your IT band. And it's usually like kind of between 10 and 30 degrees off center of your body if you're looking straight up. Keep that foot flexed and don't let it sit. And then as you're ready, ground this right shoulder and take this left or right, roll to the left hip. Right leg twists and crosses all the way over. Breathing, and you want this right hip easing down away from your rib cage. Keeping both feet flexed. Inhaling out, releasing that right foot down and bringing the left foot in. Pressing that left heel up. At this point, gently getting the strap in a nice comfortable place that you can be for a little bit. Maybe taking this right heel all the way down, flexing. As you press through both heels, of course, you can draw this left leg closer. You can walk your hands up your strap. Keeping your belly drawing down toward the floor. And if you want to, and as you're ready, you can pull into your strap, lift your chin. Maybe your shoulders up off the floor. Breathing here. And then carrying it with you back down. Finding that maxed out hamstring stretch. Physically opening the body. Claiming this work and every sensation it produces. Take this right arm down, strap in your left hand, and extend that left heel over, pressing through both heels. I'm going to exhale all the way back out. Taking the strap into the right hand, taking the left hand down. Again, staying up high here and looking for the most sensation, the loudest sensation in the back or outside of most of the length of the leg. What kind of neural information you get about what's happening in your own leg will be personal, but just keep that hip squeezing down away from your body. And after several breaths in this IT band stretch, then cross all the way to the right hip. Keeping that left shoulder grounded and pressing out through both heels, breathing here. Inhaling back out, releasing that foot, bring the left foot in, and we're gonna roll on up, sitting on your seat bones just for a minute. Feeling firm in your foundation and feeling open through these channels of the body. And so I mentioned at the beginning that what we're dealing with discrimination against people who are gay or lesbian or bi or trans or queer or questioning or non-binary is honestly the root of the vast majority of it is misogyny. It has to do with policing expressions of femininity and expressions of masculinity and who gets to do which ones and what they mean. And having literally at the time of the Stonewall riots, laws on the books that said, conform or be against the law, be able to be fined or put in prison. You're allowed to get fired for that. You're allowed to get, all these different punishments and being shut out of the American dream, any kind of stable life. And it's a, layer of and continuation of that foundation of racism that these, the good life, where you're not subject to financial discrimination, housing discrimination, and, denial of the right to form a family in the way that you see fit are all things that have happened to all of these different kinds of people. And so that policing of a racial and gender hierarchy is a huge piece of the just litany of terrible things that can happen to people in life who are just trying to live as themselves. And so we've got to, as a society, get past this idea of policing those types of things because there's just all kinds of just absolutely purely irrational, what people present as justifications. Without trying to repeat any of those, my point is that, especially if you go back 1969 to now, that rejection of from it being in the criminal code to there continue to being states where you can't adopt a child if you are gay and married, or where someone has passed a law like Mississippi where there's a religious belief exemption on the books that has yet to be totally done away with for public servants to be allowed to deny services based on, again, at this point, we've got a Supreme Court case that does override that because it says you cannot deny services on the basis of sex, which includes orientation and gender identity. But we're going to have a long way to go in practice, and it's going to take, I think, a lot of different types of actions. But to move on physically and thinking about what we need to do, we're always opening the heart in Yoga for Justice. That is what the vast majority of people, in particular, if you are white, in particular, if you are the same biological gender and gender identity that people identify you as and that you identify as, particularly if you are financially stable or came from a family that was, all these different layers of privilege. Need to spend time stretching and opening our hearts and thinking about what we're going to do and what we can do and the truth of these problems. So we're going to stretch open our heart by coming over. First, find a downward facing dog. So shoulders slide down the back, connected all the way through your fingertips. Let your knees be soft and let your heels be soft, lifting up through your belly, extending, and then finding that line from about your belly button that hinges through your hips and reaches through your feet to the earth.
We're going to inhale the right heel up high to the sky and exhale, swing it through the hands, plant it down, bring the left knee down, coming up to your low crescent, hips are squared up. Bring the palms together and find a little inverse prayer. So taking your palms down to the base of your head or your thumbs down to the base of your head. Lifting up, opening your heart, and then exhale, sweep the arms around and back down. Walk back, lift your right toes, hug that right hip back and stretch out that hamstring. Reaching your heart forward. And then walk back into your right foot, lifting to your crescent, taking the thumbs back, pointing the tailbone down and lifting the heart. Exhale, back down, bringing the hands down, stretching out that right hand. Heart open wide, reaching forward. And we'll walk forward, plant the hands, tuck the toes. Take it to plank. Exhale, knees, chin, and chest. Inhaling to extend the crown of the head, the heart, and plant the tops of the feet, extending back through the heels. Exhale to downward facing dog. We'll inhale the left heel up high to the sky. Exhale, swing it through between the hands. Plant the right knee, lifting up, low crescent. Arms reach, square those hips up really strong through the belly as you bend your elbows and lift your sternum. Breathing here. On your exhale, reach it out. Bringing the hands down, walk back, lifting those left toes, squeezing the hip back, opening the heart. Walking it back forward, lift out. Pointing the tailbone down and lifting the heart up. And exhaling down, we'll plant the hands, tuck the toes, take it back for plank. Roll through knees, chin, and chest. Inhaling through for cobra. And exhaling, downward facing dog. We'll bring the knees down if you want to take it back to a child's pose and really feel close to the ground. That's all fine and good. Maybe feeling that low back get nice and wide. So part of this idea of claiming the body includes expression, includes rising above this, at least our participation in policing of gender expression or of feminine and masculine qualities. We need balance of both, and there's nothing fundamentally wrong with any human being for not fitting into someone else's automatic expectation. It's for us to free our own mind from those automatic expectations of what other people should do in order to meet them heart to heart. And so we're going to spend a few minutes on expression. If you want to put on some music, you can, but this is just meant to be like sort of fluid practice because expression just is personal and just needs to flow and needs to be authentic and participated in by all of us in the way that we see fit. So this is a yoga way to do it. We're going to come to hands and knees and do just some cat-cow rounds. Rounding and inhaling, opening the front of the body. And then feel like you can just move any way that you want to, trying to keep hands and knees fairly connected, but letting it be intuitive, if you want to get into your hips or side waist. And somewhere along the way, I want us to come to some circular child's pose variations. So coming way back and then maybe coming out long and making a big circle with your hips. Opening to one side and then the other, coming back. And then changing directions, getting a good 2 or 3 circles all around your mat with the hips. And about even in both directions of your circle. And we're going to start to turn this into a camel with some half camels. So I'm going to tuck the toes first of all. Let's see what I have. Oh yeah, this is going to be hard. So bringing the fire to this whole expression idea. Knees are underneath your hips, tuck your toes, and you're going to sweep the arms around to the right. Take your right hand to your heel and sweep your left arm over, tuck your tailbone and reach. And then exhale, sweep all the way around. So your left hand comes back, your right arm reaches around and over, tuck your tailbone. Exhale, sweep it around. You get 2 more of these each side. Big circle in front with the arms, using your hand to prop up. And after this other one, bring that right hand all the way around, finding a camel, opening that heart. Exhaling, tucking your chin. Make a little basket with your feet set down. Feeling how nice it is to let your root come back down towards the floor after all that extending and opening. And so I'm going to come forward on my mat for where we're going. Just get ready to just really love me. So come up into it, onto your toes. Place your big toes down. Make sure that your pinky toes are on the floor as you kind of sit your weight back. And we're going to, you can use your hands, come to a little toe stand. And if that little lyrical movement has you feeling a beat, you can bounce. And from here, we're going to try to slowly rise up to a chair pose. So you might go ahead and extend your arms and start to push into your feet. Maybe challenging yourself to keep your heels up, but it's hard. Reaching forward, maybe separating your feet a little bit. I'm going to walk forward another step. Extending the arms up high, pointing the tailbone down. And then from this chair, take your arms, hands to heart center, twist your left elbow around your right knee, pressing back, and feel the restriction of this twist, pressing together, sinking into your feet, trying to feel that connection from the center core behind your belly button all the way through both sides of your hips. Now we're going to look down at that left foot, step back, come to a twist in your lunge, and then you're going to release that twist, release all that restriction, and we're going to come straight to a goddess. So careful with your feet. I'm having to be careful with a ceiling fan here, tucking it down. And if you want to get a little hip dance going, then do that. I don't have music on because it would sound terrible. But just let, you can have some circles. You can get way down. Just keep your tailbone dropping, that belly alive. And then from here, you're going to press in, straighten your feet, turn so that that left foot's forward. Come into your lunge, bringing your hands together at your heart. Twist your right elbow over your left knee. Find that lunge. I'm going to look down at your left foot. Step up for that twisted chair. Sinking the hips down. And then release your twist. Make sure where I'm at. Inhale. All the way out. Exhale. Hinge and fold. And we're going to find a good forward fold here. So you can let your feet walk more like hip distance apart. Breathing. And then let your knees bend. So I've got my hands kind of out a little further in front of me. Really let your knees bend deeply. Lay your chest over your thighs and hang down. And so if what you feel here is that you want to take your opposite elbows and sway, you're welcome to do that. We're going to be here for a minute. On an inhale, you're going to drop your butt. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Extending your heart out, crown of the head out, tailbone back. And exhale, downward facing dog. Trying to find sensation of awareness from the center core of your body behind your belly button, through both sides of your hips and low back, both sides of your pelvis, and through both legs. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, fold. And if you find yourself wanting to give your legs a little more straightening, that's fine. Just don't lock your knees. And breathing here. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, fold. And the next time we inhale to lift and lengthen, we're going to come back down to your toes, dropping your butt. Pull that belly in, trying to find a little balance. And then we're going to take the knees down, sinking it back to a child's pose. Just fold in. Breathing here. And then we're going to come to our seat with the idea that what we're really seeking is in whatever person, for that individual, balanced identity, balanced expression. I want everybody to have their body be understood as valuable on a systemic level, from healthcare to police to housing to the way that people imagine how whatever other kind of person lives. So that's my big Yoga for Justice goal. But with the idea that, policing gender roles is ridiculous given what we know about gender biology at this point in human beings and in just the natural world. But the idea there's a difference between, biology and either masculine or feminine performance. So there are masculine and feminine qualities to the world and nature and human beings, but they're not all having to do with performance of femininity, which is going to be the sort of exaggerations that hair and makeup arts and clothing arts can create, both in, making femininity more exaggerated, but now we're seeing more and more, masculinity being exaggerated. And these things aren't meant to be, polarized and just like exclusive of each other. They're supposed to exist in harmony, within a given individual and within the world at large. And so within our own self, we're going to balance the two sides of our body with alternate nostril breathing, which is called Nadi Shodhana in yoga. It's a really nice one, and you can look up plenty about it for what all it can do for you. You're going to choose to close off each nostril, probably with your thumb and ring finger. You can either just leave your middle finger and forefinger out, or you can, close them down to the heel of your hand. Either way. But we'll breathe in and out together. Get a big breath in. Close the right nostril, exhaling through your left nostril. Inhale through your left nostril. Close it off and retain your breath. Release the right nostril, exhaling. Inhale through the right. Close it off, retain. Exhale left. Inhale left.
Close, retain. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close, retain. Exhale left. Inhale left. Close, retain. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close, retain. Exhale left. And release. Just breathing deeply through both nostrils. Energy. Just sitting with whatever comes up here for you, whether it's the masculine or feminine qualities in yourself that you appreciate, whether it's those qualities in another person that you appreciate, whether it's a memory of a way of thinking or being that you used to have that maybe you've moved on from. Maybe it's openness or space that didn't used to be there for just other people's experiences, or of the idea of their fundamental right to have their body, to be their body, and to have their self. Let me turn this light on. So coming down, I take the left hand to my heart and then place my right hand on top of it and just breathe here. Knowing that my heart is open and strong and balanced here. And with the feeling that I want to offer openness and strength to, for one, Black trans lives matter. This is a population who experiences an extremely high rate of every form of discrimination, from violence in the home, violence with peers, violence through healthcare or policing, extraordinary murder rates, and are pushed out of the American dream at in extreme ways. So locally, we have a woman named Jocelyn Kelly, who's a Black trans woman who experienced just the most obvious overt forms of discrimination. Her workplace, where she was supposed to be managing a McDonald's, and the franchise owners apparently did nothing to ensure that, one, she was working the job she had been hired to do. She was pushed out of the actual tasks of her real job, and she was in many ways verbally humiliated and threatened by fellow employees on the job. And this happens so many more places that we never see and we never hear about. So because of this recent Supreme Court decision, the type of discrimination that she experienced is for the first time recognized as explicitly unlawful, as there is a precedent to look at and say, you know, what happened to her was discrimination on the basis of sex. And we now have a legal precedent for that. So my heart is in gratitude for that. And my heart is also wanting to give, again, that openness and strength that I've cultivated inside outside of myself, in the form of, for one, supporting this case as it's going to be going through local and area spaces, and including all of these vulnerable people, all of every intersection of identity that can be, again, denied and practically disembodied, denied autonomy and denied authenticity by, again, these systems. None of us meant to be acculturated in whatever way we were, but it's up to us to cultivate openness and strength in ourselves and then to offer it out. So if you have a, big hamstring stretch, big heart opener, or big arm balance that you want to do, just pick something bigger, that you don't normally work on, and just work where you're at. We're all working where we're at, whether it's with the strength to do an arm balance or the flexibility to get into whatever kind of posture, and just give it the effort and the work and let that translate into how you are in the world. Here in the most authentic Pride Month we've had in quite a long time. The police brutality and rioting started the first Pride Month, and hopefully it won't take as many years to get some next steps accomplished. So for me, well, for one, if you just don't know what to do, but you want to work on your strength or get out some rage, you take your hands just right next to you on your mat and push and try to literally pick your ass up. Maybe you pick your feet up too. It's real hard for me to do both. So that's a really tough one. I'm going to work on both openness and strength by extending my left leg out in front of me. And I'm going to try to, best way to orient myself and not hurt anything. I'm going to start to open up on my right hip. So my left foot is flexed. And what I'm going to do is pick up my right leg and take my peace fingers around my big toe, sitting up tall here, big tall, and pulling this right knee kind of towards my armpit. If I can get here like a bow and arrow, really drawing it back, I'm going to consider taking this right foot into all the way in the crook of my left elbow, and then take it over and hold it like a baby. Keeping that left foot really flexed and sitting up tall here. Feeling the hip open, feeling the leg open. And then I'm going to take my right arm. I'm going to start to try to, just see, where next to my hip I can place this hand. Maybe I can think about taking outside edge of this left foot and just working on easing my shoulder through and just working on openness. Maybe if I can get my right leg over my shoulder like a backpack, maybe I can get this right foot plugged in and then hoist that left heel up and come up off the floor. At the beginning of an arm balance, I don't usually do or work on, and I should. So I'm going to let that foot back down and work on the other side. Again, offering strength and openness, not having to do some perfect performance, but working from where you're at in terms of openness in your body or strength. So my right foot's flexed, picking up my left foot, maybe taking this left big toe, sitting up real tall with support if I need it, and really pulling that left knee towards my left armpit. And maybe I take this left foot into all the way in the crook of my right elbow, cradling it, hugging it towards my chest and sitting up as tall as I can, flexing that right foot. Just cultivating openness by taking a challenging place, being in a challenging place, not just expecting the body to only be one way. And then maybe I start to think about squeezing this left hand through and where it would go. Maybe I can take this left foot into my right hand, plant my left hand down, and just be trying to work through. This is harder on this side. Maybe I can get my left knee kind of over my shoulder like a backpack, flexing both heels, planting down my hands, and trying to get that right foot up, off the floor. Thinking about that root growing down from the hands in those challenging arm balances. Thinking of having more of this energy, this strength of knowing how to claim your body and your identity and letting it grow out from you to somebody who needs it in the world. So letting the soles of the feet come together, letting the knees go wide. Just take a little forward bend, taking it easy on the back. You can just round down. And coming on back up. Closing the knees up like a book. We're going to come down for one more, a grounded heart opener, which is locust pose. So you can start down on the belly, legs extend behind you, tailbone points back. You can take your hands interlaced behind your back, drawing them back. And it doesn't matter if they never leave your tailbone. You're going to point the tailbone back and lift your feet, extending through your feet, maybe lifting your chest as well. Breathing here. Not really pointing the toes, trying to find that open channel from your belly button through both sides of your hips, your glutes. And releasing back down. Make a pillow with your hands. Bend your knees and just windshield wiper your feet back and forth. And from here, so you can do that same thing with your fingers interlaced behind your back. You also have the option coming over to your side, taking your hands either palms down under your thighs or interlacing your fingers and rolling over to the tops of your arms. Nothing should be feeling like it is being crushed or destroyed by this process. So if you can't get that way, then just don't worry about it. Get your hands behind your back and draw back from there. But this is locust. I'm going to press the fronts of my arms into the floor as I press my tailbone back through my heels, reaching through the feet. Trying to draw them towards the center line a little bit. And releasing back down, getting off your hands and roll to a child's pose. And from here, we're going to come down to the back, finding one last twist. So grounding your arms somehow, take the left leg down long, crossing over to the left hip, maybe holding onto that right knee if you just want to or need to. Breathing here. Inhaling back out, bringing the left knee in, extending the right leg down long, and crossing onto the right hip, drawing the left leg over, left arm down, breathing. Inhaling back out. Taking your legs down long. And we'll take a Shavasana, and we'll take this with the hands on the heart. So bring in, holding your body in your own hands. Allowing yourself
everything you need to claim this body that is your own. Releasing any rejection of it, either by yourself or by others. Extending to all other people the same right to claim, to have their own body. And affirming every human being's right to autonomy and authenticity without being shunned or rejected. And with every right to this material life of a family, a home, a job that's concerned with performance, a health system that affirms their humanity, a court and justice system that affirms their fundamental humanity as it does yours. As you're ready, you can bring your attention back. You can wiggle fingers and toes. You can roll your wrists or ankles, just waking up the body a little at a time. Reaching back, big stretch. Extend through your heels and scoop out your belly. And then roll to either side, cradle your head in your arms. Find a little fetal position. Coming back up to your seat. Give yourself appreciation of your body. Each of our bodies is the vehicle for our whole experience, and it deserves love from ourselves. It deserves for us to learn how to love it well. It deserves validation and love from others. It deserves for all of us to do whatever work we can towards that greater good. Namaste. Thank y'all for stretching.